Lauren Hayes didn't expect the night to end with her lying on the cold marble steps of the Upper East Side apartment, rain slapping her face while her husband screamed behind the door. She had learned to survive Ethan's temper, his pride, his sudden moods, but nothing prepared her for the moment he shoved her. She was holding his 5-month-old son, and she was 7 months pregnant herself. The rain soaked through her coat instantly as she tried to shield the baby with one arm and protect her stomach with the other. Inside the doorway, Sabrina Cole stood with her arms crossed, her perfectly curled blonde hair untouched by the storm outside. She rested a hand on her fake baby bump, a detail Lauren could never have imagined, was fake smirking as if she had just watched something amusing instead of cruel. "She'll figure it out," Sabrina said, her voice soft but edged with poison. "Or she won't. Either way, she's not our problem anymore." Lauren tried to pull herself upright, but pain hit her so sharply she almost dropped the baby. Her breath shortened, her vision blurred. The baby in her arms whimpered, confused by the cold, shivering violently. She whispered, "It's okay, sweetheart, I've got you. Mommy's here," even though she wasn't sure if she believed it. Her stomach tightened again, harder this time. Ethan's voice broke through the rain. "Get off my property, Lauren. You pulled this on yourself." He sounded afraid. But not for her, no. He was terrified she'd ruin the perfect image he'd built. Terrified the neighbors might see. Terrified of responsibility. He slammed the door so hard, the sound cracked through the rainy air like a gunshot. The street was almost empty. Expensive cars rushed past, headlights sweeping across the sidewalk without slowing. Lauren forced herself to stand. Her hands trembled so badly the baby nearly slipped. If she didn't move soon, she feared she might faint. Her legs buckled, but she kept walking, step by painful step, down the slick sidewalk of East 76th Street. Halfway to the curb, her knees gave out again. She sank to the concrete, hugging the crying baby close. She couldn't breathe. The contractions were coming faster. Rain hit her face as she stared up at the blurred city lights, wondering how her life had unraveled this quickly. She thought of the ultrasound picture she kept in her wallet. She thought of how she had trusted Ethan, even when he didn't deserve it. She thought of how she had no one left. Then a shadow moved. A man in a dark coat stepped from behind a parked car. He didn't come too close. He didn't reach for her. He simply watched, as if waiting for something. Lauren tried to speak, but her voice broke. The man finally leaned forward just enough for her to hear him through the rain. "Someone knows what he did," he murmured. "And someone is coming for him. Is less than B is greater than and." Before Lauren could ask who he was, the man vanished into the rain. Is less than B is greater than. Rain kept pouring over Manhattan as Lauren struggled to keep moving, her breath shallow, her arms aching from holding the baby. The stranger's warning echoed in her head, but the words felt like part of a dream she couldn't hold on to. She didn't know who he was, why he cared, or whether she imagined him entirely. The pain in her abdomen pulsed harder, like something inside her body was shutting down. At one point she had to lean against a street lamp, gripping the metal pole until her knuckles whitened. The baby pressed against her chest, crying softly, the tiny sound almost lost in the roar of the rain. A taxi slowed, hesitated, then sped off when the driver noticed her soaked clothes and unsteady posture. She whispered, "Please, someone stop," but no one did. This was Manhattan. People passed tragedies every day and convinced themselves not to see them. Her vision shimmered as she pushed forward toward the faint glow of a bus stop. She just needed somewhere dry, somewhere safe, somewhere she wouldn't collapse with the baby in her arms. Her phone rang inside her pocket. The vibration startled her. She fumbled it out with shaking fingers. Ethan's name flashed on the cracked screen. Why would he call? To check if she was dead? To make sure she didn't return? She answered, voice trembling. "Ethan, I need help." The baby. His voice cut and sharp and dismissive. "Stop calling me. You made your choice. Don't drag me into your drama." She tried to protest, but he hung up. The sudden silence felt louder than the storm. When she reached the bus stop, she collapsed onto the bench, clutching her stomach as another contraction ripped through her. She tasted blood on her lip where she had bitten it. Her breaths grew ragged. She pressed her forehead against the baby's blanket. "Stay with me," she whispered. "I'm not losing you. Either of you." A city bus pulled up, headlights sweeping across her. The doors opened with a hiss. The driver, A middle-aged woman with tired eyes glanced at Lauren and froze. "Honey, you don't look okay. Can you get on?" Lauren tried to stand, but her legs buckled. The driver rushed out, helping her onto the bus with steady hands. The warm air inside hit her like a wave. For a moment, she thought she might pass out. Several passengers stared, unsure whether to help or avoid getting involved. The driver knelt beside her. "Sweetheart, are you in labor?" Lauren shook her head. "Too early, it's too early, I just fell, he pushed me." The driver's expression darkened, sympathy mixing with outrage. "I'm calling 911 right now." "Hold on." Lauren clung to the metal pole, the world tilting. She couldn't shake the stranger's words. Someone knows. Someone is coming. Who? And why now, when for years she had suffered alone? Her water didn't break, but the pressure inside her grew unbearable. Every few seconds, her body tightened in warning. The baby in her arms began whimpering again, and she rocked him instinctively, though her hands trembled so hard she feared she would drop him. The driver gently touched her shoulder. "Ambulance is 2 minutes away. Just breathe, honey." 2 minutes sounded like a lifetime. As the bus doors opened to the approaching sirens, Lauren felt the world narrowing, sounds blurring, her consciousness slipping. She tried to focus on the baby's tiny fingers curled in her coat. Then, through the rain-blurred window, she saw a black SUV pull up beside the bus. A man stepped out, the same dark coat, the same stillness as before. He looked straight at her through the glass, as if he had been tracking her the entire time. Is less than. B is greater than. This time he didn't disappear. He started walking toward her. Is less than. B is greater than. The moment the ambulance doors opened, Lauren felt the cold slap of rain again, but this time it wasn't the storm that made her shiver. It was the sight of the man in the dark coat walking steadily toward the bus, his footsteps slow, deliberate, as if he had all the time in the world. The paramedics rushed toward her, guiding her onto the stretcher, but her eyes stayed locked on him. She didn't know why. Fear, curiosity, or something deeper she couldn't explain. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" one paramedic asked as he checked her pulse. "You're experiencing premature contractions. We need to move quickly." Lauren nodded weakly, but her gaze drifted back toward the man outside. He stood just beyond the flashing ambulance lights, rain dripping from the brim of his hood. He didn't approach. He didn't shout. He simply watched. "Do you know him?" the paramedic asked, noticing her focus. "No," Lauren whispered. "At least, I don't think so." Before they could load her fully into the ambulance, the driver from the bus called out, "Hey, is he with you?" Her voice carried suspicion, the kind born from years of dealing with trouble. The man finally responded. His voice was calm, almost unnervingly gentle. "I'm not here to hurt her. I'm making sure she gets to the hospital safely." The paramedic narrowed his eyes. "Sir, step back." The man nodded obediently, but he didn't leave. He simply moved out of the way, hands visible, posture unthreatening. Yet something about him radiated authority and energy Lauren had seen before, only in people who weren't used to being told no. Rain kept pounding the pavement as the ambulance crew fastened Lauren onto the stretcher. The baby in her arms whimpered again. One paramedic gently lifted him, swaddling him in a dry blanket. "We've got him," he assured her. "You focus on breathing." As they pushed the stretcher into the ambulance, Lauren caught one last glimpse of the man. For a second, through the haze of pain and rain, she saw something new in his expression: recognition. As if he knew her. As if he had known her long before this night. The doors shut. Inside the ambulance, everything felt too bright, too loud. Machines beeped, gloves snapped, questions fired at her faster than she could answer. Any pre-existing conditions? Has this happened before? Any trauma to the abdomen? Trauma, yes, but how could she explain being shoved by her husband without breaking apart completely? Her mind spiraled back to Ethan, his voice cold and dismissive. Sabrina's smirk, the slam of the door. She felt her throat tighten. "He pushed me," she whispered. "He pushed me while I was holding his baby." The paramedic paused, understanding dawning in his eyes. "We'll report it. You're safe now." Safe. She wasn't sure she believed that, not yet. As the ambulance sped toward the hospital, Lauren's contractions worsened. Tears leaked from the corners of her eyes as she clutched the rails of the stretcher. Her whole world felt like it was collapsing. She had no home, no money, no partner, no stability, and she might lose her unborn child. Then the ambulance hit a bump, and something slid from her coat pocket, a crumpled envelope. The paramedic picked it up and handed it to her. "Is this yours?" She stared at it, confused. She hadn't brought any mail with her. Her hands shook as she opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper with typed words. "Lauren Hayes, you are not alone. Someone has been waiting for this night." Her heart slammed painfully against her ribs. She hadn't seen this envelope before. She didn't know how it ended up in her pocket. The paramedics exchanged worried glances. Lauren's vision blurred again, but this time it wasn't just from pain. Is less than B is greater than because. On the bottom of the letter was a name she'd never seen, yet it sent a chill through her whole body. Is less than B is greater than. Lauren stared at the name at the bottom of the letter, her pulse hammering as the ambulance sped through the wet Manhattan streets. The name read, Dominic Reyes. It meant nothing to her, yet something about it felt heavy, like a door cracking open in a house she never knew she lived in. She folded the paper with trembling fingers, unsure whether to hide it or throw it away. Before she could speak, the paramedic monitoring her vitals leaned closer. "Ma'am, we're almost at the hospital. Try to stay conscious. Your blood pressure keeps dropping." Lauren wanted to answer, but another contraction tore through her like lightning, forcing a cry from her throat. She gripped the railing until her knuckles turned white. Outside the ambulance windows, she saw blurred lights, tall buildings, and the faint reflection of the man in the dark coat following them in his SUV. She didn't know why he was there, but she felt his presence like a shadow. The ambulance turned sharply, and the paramedics prepared to unload her. Rain hammered the metal roof, and thunder rolled above the city. When the doors swung open, the man in the dark coat stood several yards away, unmoving, watching. As they wheeled her inside, Lauren fought dizziness. The hospital lights were too bright, too clean, too calm, compared to the chaos inside her. Nurses rushed over, guiding her into a room as the baby, now calmer, was checked by another nurse. "We need her chart, blood work now, call obstetrics," a nurse shouted. Lauren tried to breathe steadily, but each inhale trapped fire in her ribs. Another contraction hit. She screamed, grabbing the bed rail. A doctor rushed in, flipping through her chart. "You need magnesium. We have to slow your labor. Your body is under too much stress," he said. But Lauren's mind wasn't on the doctor. It wasn't on Ethan. It wasn't even on the pain tearing through her. It was on the name in the letter Dominic Reyes. Why did the stranger think she would know it? Why did it feel familiar? Then the doctor froze mid-sentence. He looked at the doorway. Lauren followed his gaze. The man in the dark coat stood there. Inside the hospital, inside her room, not rushing, not asking permission, just standing with the same unreadable expression. Security approached, but the man held up a hand with a quiet authority that made them hesitate. The doctor whispered, "Sir, you can't be." He stepped forward and removed his hood. His face was older than she expected, sharper, weathered. His eyes softened when they met hers. "Lauren," he said quietly, "I've waited a long time to meet you." The room went silent. Lauren felt her heartbeat slow, confusion replacing fear. "Who are you?" she whispered. He exhaled, his voice thick with regret. "I'm Dominic Reyes, your father." Lauren's breath caught. Her vision sharpened despite the pain. She didn't know whether to scream, cry, or deny it. Her father? The man she'd never known? The one her mother never spoke of? He took another step closer. "And I'm here because Ethan didn't just hurt you. He crossed a line he never should have touched." Lauren felt a chill crawl down her spine, not from fear, but from the realization her life had changed forever. Is less than B, is greater than before she could speak? Dominic said 6 words that would shatter everything she thought she knew, and those words were only the beginning of the chaos waiting outside her hospital room in the coming long night. Is less than B is greater than. Lauren lay trembling on the hospital bed as Dominic stepped closer, rain still dripping from his coat. The room felt too small, too bright, too fragile for the weight of his presence. His jaw clenched as he spoke the 6 words that froze every nurse in the room. "He planned to get rid of you." Lauren's breath hitched. The monitors beside her beeped wildly as the meaning sank in. What are you talking about?" she whispered. Dominic didn't flinch. "Ethan. He wasn't just trying to scare you or push you out of the apartment. He intended to cut ties entirely. Permanently. His eyes darkened. And that fall? That wasn't a moment of anger. It was part of a plan. The doctor stepped forward, trying to regain control of the room. "Sir, she's in a fragile state. This isn't the time." Dominic shot him a look that silenced him instantly, not with violence, but with a calm authority that suggested disobedience could cost a great deal. Turning back to Lauren, he softened. "I didn't want you to find out this way, but you were never supposed to get hurt tonight. Not like this." A contraction ripped through her. She curled forward, gasping. Nurses rushed in to adjust her IV, administering medication to slow her labor. One nurse whispered, "Honey, breathe. Focus on me. You're safe here." Safe. She didn't even know what that word meant anymore. When the pain eased slightly, Lauren raised her shaky voice. "How do you know this? How do you know anything about Ethan?" "Her father." The word felt foreign, heavy, unbelievable. Dominic hesitated for the first time. "Because my people intercepted messages, weeks ago. I tried to warn you, but he shut off your access to outside calls, and I couldn't come sooner without revealing myself." His expression tightened with guilt. "I never wanted you dragged into my world." Lauren shook her head, sweat gathering at her temples. "Your world? What does that even mean?" Before he could answer, the doctor interrupted. "Her contractions aren't slowing enough. If this continues, she could go into preterm labor. We need space." "Sir, you must step outside." Dominic ignored him. "Lauren, listen to me. Ethan wasn't acting alone. Sabrina, she's not pregnant. She's using him, and he's desperate. Desperate men make dangerous decisions." Lauren felt nausea rising. The lies, the manipulation, the years she wasted loving someone who was quietly tearing her life apart. She pressed a hand to her stomach. "My baby. Is my baby going to be okay?" The doctor answered quickly. "We're doing everything we can. Stress is the trigger right now, so please try not to panic." Try not to panic. As if that were possible. Suddenly, a loud commotion erupted in the hallway, shouting, footsteps pounding. A nurse glanced toward the door. "Security, now," she muttered. Lauren tensed. "What's happening?" Another nurse peeked outside, then slammed the door shut. "Someone's out there demanding information on a patient." Lauren's heart stopped. "Ethan?" No one answered. Dominic stepped between her and the door, posture shifting into something protective, dangerous, practiced. "He won't lay a finger on you, not while I'm here." The noises grew louder, closer. A male voice barked orders, metal clanged, something hit the floor. The doctor's face drained of color. "This hospital has strict safety protocols. They can't just—" But Dominic cut him off. "If it's who I think it is, protocols won't matter." Lauren's chest tightened, not from contractions this time, but from fear. "What do you mean?" she whispered. Dominic's eyes flicked to the door. Because outside, the chaos suddenly stopped. Silence fell so sharply it rang in her ears. Then, is less than, B is greater than. The door handle began to turn, slowly, as if someone was about to step inside. Someone who should not have been there, is less than. B is greater than. The hospital room froze as the door handle turned. Every nurse stepped back. The doctor held his breath. Lauren's heart pounded so hard she thought the monitor might explode. Dominic Reyes moved first, silent, controlled, positioning himself between the door and his daughter, like a man who had done this many times before. The handle clicked once, twice, then the door swung open. But it wasn't Ethan. A tall man in a Navy security uniform stepped inside, rain dripping from his sleeves. His badge glinted under the harsh fluorescent lights. His expression was stiff, almost expressionless. "We need to move the patient," he said flatly. "There's a safety concern on this floor." The doctor frowned. "No one told me about a transfer order." The guard didn't blink. "It's coming from administration. We have an individual attempting to breach the maternity wing." Lauren's breath hitched. "That's him, Ethan. He's looking for me." Dominic stepped closer to the guard, studying him in a way that made Lauren realize he wasn't checking for a badge, he was checking for danger. "Which administrator signed the order?" Dominic asked calmly. The guard hesitated. Only for a second, but Dominic saw it. Lauren saw it. Even the doctor stiffened. Something was wrong. "We don't have time," the guard said sharply. We need to move her now. Dominic's voice dropped to something cold enough to freeze the air. You didn't answer my question. The guard's jaw tightened. His hand inched toward the walkie clipped to his belt. Sir, I'm not asking. I'm telling you, move away from the patient. Dominic smiled, a small, dangerous smile. Wrong answer. Before anyone could react, the guard lunged, reaching not for Dominic, but for Lawrence the foreline. Lawrence screamed. Nurses ducked. Dominic grabbed the guard's wrist mid-air with a speed that didn't match his age. The guard struggled, but Dominic twisted his arm behind his back, slamming him against the wall so hard the framed medical chart rattled. Who sent you? Dominic growled. The guard didn't answer. Instead, he spat out, You shouldn't have come out of retirement, Reyes. Lauren felt the blood in her veins turn to ice. The nurses stared, shocked. The doctor stepped back, realizing this was far beyond anything the hospital could handle. Dominic tightened his grip. You have 3 seconds. But before he could finish, the guard kicked backward, catching Dominic in the leg. Dominic didn't let go, but the impact loosened his hold, just enough for the guard to break free and sprint toward the door. Security, a nurse cried, but the guard was already gone. Dominic didn't chase him. He stood still, breathing hard, eyes dark with a fury that seemed decades old. They're trying to take her, he muttered. They know she's the only loose thread. Lauren's voice cracked. Loose thread for what? Dominic turned to her, and this time, the fear in his eyes wasn't for himself. Your husband isn't smart enough to plan this alone. Someone else is pulling strings. Someone who knows exactly who I am and who you are. Her pulse spiked. But I don't even know who I am. You will, Dominic said softly, soon. Before she could ask anything else, a real hospital security team rushed in 2 officers with proper IDs, followed by a supervisor who apologized breathlessly. We received a report of an impersonator. The entire floor is in lockdown. Lockdown. Lauren's world spun. Her unborn child, the baby sleeping in the nurse's arms. Dominic's past. Ethan's betrayal. Everything was colliding. As the team secured the room, Dominic leaned close to her. They're not going to stop, Lauren. Not until Ethan gets what he wants, or until someone stops him. Lauren swallowed hard, tears burning her eyes. What does he want? Dominic's answer was quiet, but devastating. He wants you gone so he can claim everything in your name. Lauren felt her breath break. Is less than B is greater than and. Just as the door sealed for lockdown, a phone buzzed a message from Ethan, with a photo that made the room go still. Is less than B is greater than. Lauren didn't want to look at the screen, but her trembling hand lifted the phone anyway. The message from Ethan glowed bright as a knife blade. You should have stayed quiet. Attached was a photo, grainy, taken in low light. At first, Lauren couldn't understand what she was seeing. It looked like a storage room, maybe a basement. Concrete walls, a single flickering bulb, and in the corner, a stroller. Her baby's stroller, the one she kept by the door at home. Her chest tightened. No, 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 she whispered. Where did he take it? What does this mean? Dominic's jaw clenched as he snatched the phone gently from her fingers. He studied the image, his eyes narrowing. That's not your baby. The nurse has him. He nodded toward the nurse holding the infant near the incubator. Ethan wants you to think he took him. Why? Lauren choked. To break you, Dominic said. To control the narrative. Fear makes people obedient. Another message arrived. Sign the papers or next time it won't just be the stroller. Lauren's stomach twisted. Papers? What papers? Dominic exhaled long and slow. He wants your signature on everything he forged under your name, loans, transfers, property filings. Once you're out of the picture, he becomes the beneficiary. He hesitated. It's why he wanted you gone tonight. Lauren pressed a shaking hand to her forehead. Everything she once believed about Ethan, the warmth, the promises, the gentle beginnings, felt like a cruel joke. He never loved her. He never even saw her. She was a tool. A shield? A wallet? Why would he send me this now? She whispered. Because he's losing control, Dominic answered. And men like him get sloppy when they're afraid. Before Lauren could respond, the supervisor stepped inside. Miss Hayes, we've increased security, no one in or out without clearance. But we did find something near the loading dock. Dominic straightened. What? The supervisor handed him a clear evidence bag. Inside was a burner phone. Lauren's heart thudded painfully. Is it his? Dominic turned it over. Not his, Sabrina's. The room stilled. The supervisor continued. It was discovered hidden behind a trash bin. The last dialed number is the hospital's direct line. Lauren's voice cracked. She was here? Sabrina was here? A nurse gasped softly. But she's pregnant. She's not. Dominic cut in. The pregnancy is fake. The nurse blinked in shock. But why would she? Because she's not here for Ethan, Dominic said grimly. She's here to erase evidence. He's just the puppet she's using to cover her tracks. Lauren felt the bed shake beneath her trembling hands. What does she want from me? Dominic turned to her, his gaze sharp yet heavy with regret. Not you, your name, your legal identity, your connection to me. Sabrina's been tied to groups far worse than Ethan. If she eliminates you, she can access everything. Everything. Her name, her unborn child, her life. Lauren pressed her hand to her chest, struggling to breathe. Mr. Reyes, the supervisor said carefully, there's more. Security cameras caught someone on the maternity floor 5 minutes ago. Dominic stiffened. Who? The supervisor lifted a tablet, showing the footage, and Lauren's soul nearly left her body. Sabrina, makeup ruined by rain, hair tangled, wearing a soaked coat, was walking down the hallway, limping slightly, one hand gripping the fake pregnancy bump so hard it looked like she might tear it off. Her eyes were manic, wild, fixated, walking straight toward Lauren's room. The nurse nearest Lauren whispered, "How did she get in?" "We're on lockdown." Dominic's face hardened. Someone let her in. As if on cue, another message buzzed on Lauren's phone. This one from an unknown number. "Tell Daddy to back off. You're not the only one with leverage." Lauren's blood ran cold. Daddy? She hadn't called Dominic that. Ever. Sabrina knew. And that meant she knew more. Dominic took a slow step toward the door, voice dropping low and lethal. "She wants a war." Lauren reached out, grabbing his sleeve, her voice barely a whisper. "What? What is she planning?" He looked at her with eyes that held both fury and fear. Is less than B is greater than. She's not here to negotiate, Lauren. She's here to finish what Ethan started. Is less than. B is greater than. The hallway outside Lauren's room grew eerily quiet, the kind of quiet that settles right before a storm breaks something open. Nurses huddled together, whispering anxiously. The doctor double-checked the lock on the door, his hands trembling slightly. Lauren clutched the bed rails, her pulse racing. The contractions had eased a little, but the fear tightening her chest felt just as sharp. Dominic stood near the doorway, shoulders squared, posture unnervingly still. He wasn't panicked, he looked prepared, as if he had expected this moment long before Lauren ever knew danger existed. A nurse approached him timidly. "Sir, security is sweeping the wing. They'll find her." Dominic didn't take his eyes off the door. "She isn't hiding. Sabrina wants to be found." Lauren swallowed hard. "Why? Why come here? Why now?" Dominic faced her, his voice quieter but weighted. "Because Ethan failed, because the fake guard failed, and because every second you stay alive, everything she's building starts to crack." Lauren shook her head, feeling the room sway. "I don't even know her. Why is she doing this to me?" "You're not her target," Dominic said. "You're leverage." A cold shiver climbed Lauren's spine. Before she could ask more, the hospital lights flickered once, twice, then steadied. A warning. Someone tampering with the system. The supervisor hurried inside. "We lost cameras on the East Wing, just for a minute, but..." Dominic cut him off. "That's enough time. She's close." A thud echoed from somewhere down the hall. The baby in the nurse's arms whimpered, sensing the tension. Lauren reached toward him instinctively, but another contraction rippled through her abdomen, sending her back against the bed with a gasp. The doctor rushed to her side. "Stay with us. You're under too much emotional strain. We need you calm." Calm. The word felt like a cruel joke. Another thud closer. Dominic moved toward the door. Lauren's breath hitched. "Don't go out there." He paused, then looked back at her with something unexpectedly gentle. "Lauren, I won't let her near you. You're my daughter." The words landed heavier than she expected. She had spent 30 years believing she had no father. Now here he was, standing between her and danger without hesitation. Before she could speak, a frantic shout echoed from the hall. "She's heading toward maternity, stop her." The door handle jiggled violently. Nurses gasped. The doctor stepped in front of Lauren. Dominic raised a hand, signaling everyone to stay back. Silence. Then a voice seeped through the door. Smooth and sweet, dripping with venom. "Lauren, sweetheart, open up." Lauren's heart slammed painfully. "Sabrina," she whispered. "Oh good," Sabrina cooed. "You're still awake. We need to talk. I hate unfinished business." Dominic's voice sharpened. "You're not coming in." Sabrina laughed softly, unhinged. "Dominic Reyes. Finally meeting the man who ruined everything for me decades before I even knew your name. You should have stayed gone." Dominic stepped closer to the door. "You don't know what you're doing." "Oh, I know exactly what I'm doing," she replied. "And you know what else? Your daughter wasn't supposed to survive tonight, but you ruined that too." Lauren felt her entire body freeze. "Why me?" she cried. "What did I ever do to you?" Sabrina's response was cold as metal. "You were born." Dominic's fists clenched. "Enough." "Then open the door," Sabrina challenged softly. "Let's finish this." A loud crash rattled the metal frame, Sabrina trying to force her way in. Security sprinted down the hall, shouting commands. The door trembled again. Lauren gripped the rails, tears burning her eyes. Dominic turned to her with urgency. "Listen to me. No matter what happens next, you stay down, you stay covered, and you don't move until I tell you." Her voice cracked. "Daddy." He hadn't heard her call him that before. His eyes softened, but only for a breath. Then the door shook under another blow. The lock groaned. A hinge snapped. A scream tore down the hall. And then, is less than B, is greater than the door exploded open as Sabrina burst into the room, eyes wild, hand clutching something metal and deadly. Is less than B is greater than. Screams rippled through the hospital corridor as the door burst inward, slamming against the wall. Sabrina stood in the doorway, drenched from the rain, mascara streaked, fake pregnancy bump barely hanging on by a strip of Velcro. But what froze everyone wasn't her appearance, it was the metal object she held. A scalpel, stolen from a medical tray. Her eyes locked onto Lauren with a feverish intensity. "You took everything from me," she hissed. "Everything. You don't deserve his name. You don't deserve any of this." Dominic stepped forward instantly, placing himself between Lauren and Sabrina. "Put it down. You're not walking out of here if you take one more step." Sabrina laughed high, sharp, unhinged. "Oh, please, you think I'm afraid of you? I know who you are, Reyes. I know who you used to be, but you're old now, and I've come too far to stop." Security rushed behind her, but she swung the scalpel toward them with a scream, forcing them back. They hesitated, unable to risk escalating things around a patient in critical condition. Lauren gripped the mattress, tears streaming. "Please, please stop. I don't even know why you're doing this." Sabrina's head jerked toward her. "Because your name, your pathetic, innocent name is the key to everything I built." Ethan was supposed to hand it over cleanly. "But no, your little fall didn't finish the job." Lauren's voice shook. "I didn't choose any of this." "Exactly," Sabrina spat. "And that's why it's unfair. You were supposed to disappear quietly, but now I have to do it myself." She lunged. Lauren screamed. Dominic intercepted her, grabbing her wrist mid-strike. The scalpel sliced the air inches from Lauren's face. Dominic twisted Sabrina's arm, forcing her backward. She shrieked, thrashing wildly. "Get the weapon," Dominic barked. But Sabrina was faster than she looked. She twisted her body with a brute surge of adrenaline, slamming her forehead into Dominic's chin. He stumbled, stunned. She broke free and spun toward Lauren again. "No," Lauren cried, throwing her hands over her stomach. A nurse stepped forward to shield her, but Sabrina shoved the woman aside like she was weightless. The scalpel lifted again. Then, a sharp cry. Not Lauren's. Not Dominic's. Sabrina froze mid-movement. The metal instrument clattered to the floor. Because one of the security officers had tackled her from behind, slamming her onto the linoleum. She hit the ground hard, her fake bump sliding off and rolling across the floor like a deflated balloon. Sabrina shrieked, clawing at the tile. "Get off me, you don't understand. She's the link." Dominic moved in, breathing hard. He knelt beside her as security pinned her arms. His eyes burned with something ancient and lethal. "You could have walked away." You could have lived your life quietly. But you touched my daughter. Sabrina spit at him, unhinged. She's the reason everything fell apart. If she had just died. Dominic grabbed her chin, forcing her to meet his eyes. If you ever speak about her again, I will personally make sure you never speak another word. Security yanked him back. Sir, we've got it from here. Sabrina kicked, screamed, her voice echoing through the hall as they dragged her away. You're all dead, do you hear me? Dead. Silence finally fell. Lauren sagged back against the pillows, sobbing, her whole body trembling with shock. Nurses hurried to check her vitals. The monitor beeped rapidly, warning of rising stress. Lauren, the doctor said firmly, you need to breathe. Deep breaths. It's over. You're safe now. But Dominic knew better. He stepped closer, voice low. Sabrina was only step one. Lauren looked up, eyes wide with fear. What do you mean? Step one. Dominic exhaled, rubbing his jaw where Sabrina had struck him. If Sabrina came in person, that means Ethan is desperate. And desperate men don't stay quiet for long. Just then, a hospital phone rang at the nurse's station outside. A nurse answered. She froze. Her eyes darted toward Lauren's room. Who was it? A doctor asked. The nurse swallowed. They said they're looking for Lauren Hayes. Lauren's blood ran cold. Who? The nurse's voice quivered. They wouldn't give a name. They only said. She hesitated. They only said, tell her I know where her daughter's future is headed. Lauren's voice cracked. My daughter? The doctor frowned. You don't have a daughter. Lauren touched her belly. The unborn baby. Dominic stared at her with growing dread. Is less than B is greater than and before he could speak. The lights in the entire maternity wing shut off at once, plunging the hospital into darkness. Is less than. B is greater than. Darkness swallowed the maternity wing so completely that for a moment no one breathed. The sudden blackout silenced even the machines, every monitor, every fluorescent light, every hallway lamp. Only the emergency exit signs glowed in dim red, casting long shadows across the walls. Lauren's heart hammered as she clutched the bed rail. The baby in the nurse's arms whimpered, startled by the abrupt silence. A nurse gasped. Backup generators should have kicked in. Why aren't they on? The doctor answered shakily. Because someone turned them off manually. Dominic moved instantly, placing himself between Lauren and the doorway. His silhouette was calm, steady, but the sharpness in his voice sent chills through everyone. Stay away from the windows. Stay away from the door. Do not move unless I tell you. Lauren's breath trembled. What's happening? Is it Ethan? Dominic's voice tightened. Ethan doesn't have the skill to pull power to an entire hospital wing. Someone else is helping him. Someone who wants access to you. The emergency lights flickered faintly overhead, barely illuminating the shapes of equipment and anxious faces. A distant alarm beeped. Footsteps echoed from further down the hallway, slow, deliberate footsteps that grew closer with every second. Security officers drew flashlights, forming a protective wall near the entrance. Their beams cut through the darkness, sharp and shaky. One officer whispered, whoever did this had clearance. They knew exactly which circuits to hit. Lauren pressed a hand to her stomach, panic twisting inside her. My baby, this stress. The doctor touched her shoulder soothingly. Breathe, Lauren. We won't let anything happen to you or your child. Another sound echoed, metal scraping. Someone was dragging something down the hallway. A wheelchair? A cart? Or something worse? The noise drew nearer, rhythmic and taunting. Nurses exchanged terrified glances. Dominic stepped forward, pulling something from inside his coat. Lauren couldn't see it clearly in the dark, but the shape was unmistakable. His voice dropped to a lethal murmur. They're trying to flush us out. Suddenly, a flashlight beam from a security officer cut through the gap under the door. A shadow passed by. Not Sabrina's. Not Ethan's. Taller, broader. A man's silhouette. The scraping stopped. Silence fell again. Then, a deep, calm voice drifted through the door. Lauren, are you awake? Lauren froze. She knew that voice. It was Ethan. Her pulse spiked in terror. No, he can't be here. He was supposed to be with police. Dominic interrupted. He bribed someone, or Sabrina arranged it before she was taken. The door handle twisted slowly. Security drew their weapons. Don't move. Step away from the door. Ethan laughed softly through the crack. Relax. I'm not here to hurt her. I just want to talk." Dominic's voice thundered. "You're not getting anywhere near my daughter." Ethan scoffed. "Your daughter? Please. You think she wants anything to do with you? You walked out on her life the same way every man does in your world." Dominic's jaw locked. Ethan continued, voice dripping with arrogance. "You don't scare me, Reyes. The paycheck Sabrina promised me? That scares me. The people she answers to? They scare me. But you? No, you're just an old story someone should have forgotten." A metallic click sounded on the other side of the door. A gun. Lauren's breath collapsed. No, please." Ethan spoke calmly. "I don't need to shoot anyone. Lauren just needs to come with me. She signs the paperwork, I walk away, everyone gets to live their nice little lives." Dominic stepped forward. "Over my dead body." Ethan chuckled. "That can be arranged." Before anyone could react, a sudden burst of light filled the hallway, emergency power flickering back online just long enough to reveal Ethan's face through the window on the door. His eyes were wild, desperate, and behind him, someone else moved in the shadows. Someone Ethan didn't seem to notice. A figure in hospital scrubs, creeping up behind him. Security shouted, "Get down." A crash exploded in the hallway, Ethan screaming, the door rattling violently as two bodies collided outside. Lauren cried out, clutching her stomach. Dominic surged toward the door. But before he could reach it, is less than B is greater than the window shattered inward, and a bloodied hand slammed against the glass, belonging to someone none of them expected, is less than B is greater than. The bloodied hand slid down the shattered window, leaving a streak of red across the glass. Nurses screamed. Security lunged forward. Lauren's breath caught as the emergency lights flickered again, revealing the identity of the person collapsing against the door. It wasn't Ethan. It was the real hospital security officer, the one who had tried to stop the earlier impersonator. His face was pale, his uniform torn, and his voice rasped through the crack in the door. "He's coming." Dominic yanked the door open before anyone could stop him. The officer crumpled into his arms, bleeding from a gash along his ribs. "Reyes," he gasped. "He overpowered two guards. He's not alone. Someone cut the stairwell locks." Dominic lowered him gently. "Who did this?" The officer coughed, struggling for air. "The husband." And another man, bigger, military build. He didn't say a word, just knocked everyone down. Lauren's heart dropped. "Ethan found help? How? Who would even—" But her voice broke off as another sound stormed down the hallway. Heavy footsteps? 2 sets. One, slow and deliberate. One, uneven. Ethan's limp. The lights flickered again, dying down to a faint, eerie pulse. The emergency signs glowed red against the shadows. Dominic motioned for the nurses to move Lauren's bed toward the far wall. "No one opens that door unless I say so." Lauren gripped the rails, tears burning her eyes. "Daddy, he's coming for me. Please don't go out there." "Look at me," Dominic said, stooping to her level. His eyes, dark and steady, locked onto hers. "I lost you once. I will not lose you again." The words cut through her panic like a knife, raw, unfiltered truth she never knew she needed. A loud bang rattled the entire frame. Ethan's voice echoed through the door, furious and breathless. "You think you can keep her from me?" Dominic growled, "Back away from the door." Another bang. This time followed by a laugh, a deeper voice behind Ethan. Unfamiliar yet chilling. "She's scared, Ethan. Just let us in. We'll finish this quick." Lauren's blood froze. That voice wasn't human. It was hollow, empty, practiced, a professional. "Who is that?" she whispered to Dominic. "A hired enforcer," Dominic answered. "Sabrina must have contacted him. And if he's who I think, he's done things Ethan can't even imagine." Another smash jolted the door. The metal bent inward as if it were cardboard. Nurses screamed and retreated. The doctor grabbed a rolling tray like it could protect him. Dominic squared his shoulders, stepping directly into the center of the room. "Everyone stay back," he ordered. Lauren shook her head violently. "They'll kill you. Ethan wants you gone even more than he wants me gone." "I'm not here to die," Dominic said softly. "I'm here to end this." The final blow came so hard it snapped the top hinge clean off. The door crashed inward, and 2 figures appeared in the entryway. Ethan stumbled in first, soaked, shaking, face twisted with rage and desperation. His right eye was swollen from the earlier hallway fight. His shirt was ripped open. He looked feral. Behind him stood the enforcer, tall, bald, built like a wall of stone. His expression empty, his hands gloved, and in his right hand a silenced handgun. Nurses gasped and ducked. Security reached for weapons but froze when the enforcer raised the barrel. "Easy," he said, voice low. "Nobody moves. Nobody gets hurt." Ethan pointed at Lauren, spit flying as he screamed, "Sign the papers. Sign them now or he'll." Dominic stepped between them, voice level. "Put the gun down. This isn't going the way you think." The enforcer tilted his head. "You're Reyes." It wasn't a question. Dominic's silence was confirmation. A thin smirk crept across the man's lips. Sabrina said, "You were dangerous." "Good. I like a challenge." Ethan shoved him. "Just shoot them. Shoot them both." The enforcer didn't obey. Instead, he lowered the gun slightly and said something that made the room spin. "I wasn't hired to kill Reyes." He pointed the gun at Ethan. "I was hired to kill you." Ethan's face collapsed in horror. "What? By who?" But the man didn't answer. He pulled the trigger. The silenced shot cracked the air. Lauren screamed. "Security dove." Dominic lunged. And is less than B, is greater than. The bullet missed Ethan by an inch as someone slammed into the enforcer from behind, sending the gun skidding across the floor, and the person who saved them left everyone in the room stunned. Is less than B, is greater than. The enforcer's gun skidded across the linoleum, spinning until it hit the baseboard with a sharp, metallic clang. Everyone froze. Nurses ducked behind equipment. Security swore under their breath and scrambled for cover. Dominic's breath caught as he turned, because the person who had tackled the enforcer wasn't a guard. It was the bus driver. The same woman who had pulled Lauren onto the city bus earlier that night. Her uniform jacket was torn, her hair plastered against her forehead, and a deep cut ran along her arm. But her eyes, those steady, exhausted, compassionate eyes, were blazing with a fierceness that belonged to someone who refused to let injustice win. "You again," Dominic muttered in disbelief. The driver grunted as she pinned the enforcer's arm. "Don't thank me yet," the enforcer roared, flipping her off him like she weighed nothing. She hit the floor hard, sliding across the room. Security rushed to her, but she shoved them off. "I'm fine, get the weapon." Ethan scrambled toward the fallen gun, panic distorting his face. Dominic lunged at the same moment, intercepting him. The two men collided with a force that shook the bed Lauren lay in. Ethan clawed at Dominic's arms, screaming, "I'm not dying for Sabrina. I'm not dying for anyone." "You almost killed my daughter," Dominic growled, slamming Ethan into the floor. Before he could restrain him, the enforcer rose silent and deadly and grabbed a fallen ivy pole. With a single brutal swing, he struck Dominic across the back. Dominic gasped, dropping to one knee. Lauren screamed, reaching out instinctively. "Daddy." Hearing the word again fueled something in Dominic, a strength forged long before tonight. He surged upward and tackled the enforcer into the supply cabinets, glass shattering as both men crashed against shelves of medical equipment. Security tried to intervene, but the enforcer fought like a machine, no hesitation, no fear, no wasted movement. He grabbed one guard and hurled him into the hallway. Another he struck so hard the flashlight flew from his hand and flickered across the floor like a dying star. Lauren's heart pounded violently. The stress sent another tightening wave across her abdomen. "No. Not now. Please," she gasped. The doctor rushed to her. "She's going back into active labor. We need to stabilize her now." But the chaos kept building. Ethan scrambled to his feet again and grabbed the rolling tray of medical instruments. With wild eyes, he hurled it toward Lauren's bed. "No, if I can't have this life, no one gets it." The tray flew toward her. The bus driver threw herself in front of Lauren, shielding her with her body. Instruments clattered harmlessly to the floor. "Not on my watch," she spat. Ethan backed into a corner, shaking, hair plastered to his forehead. This wasn't supposed to go this far. "Sabrina said they'd protect me." "She said." "She lied," Dominic growled, grappling with the enforcer. "She lies to everyone." The enforcer gained the upper hand, slamming Dominic onto a metal table. The impact echoed like thunder. Lauren cried out, trying to push herself upright. "Please, somebody help him." The enforcer lifted the ivy pole again, ready to strike Dominic's skull. A gunshot rang out. The pole dropped. The enforcer staggered, clutching his shoulder, blood seeping between his fingers. Lauren's eyes widened. The bus driver stood in the center of the room, holding the silenced gun the enforcer had dropped earlier. Her hands trembled, but her stance was iron solid. "I drove city buses for 28 years, she said, voice steady despite the shake in her breath. "You think I never learned how to shoot?" Security swarmed, tackling the wounded enforcer and finally pinning him in restraints. Dominic rose, breath ragged, gripping his ribs. He approached the driver with stunned gratitude. "Who are you?" She exhaled shakily. "Just someone who's seen too many women hurt and decided tonight was the last time I'd watch it happen." But the victory was brief, because Ethan, forgotten in the corner, slipped out of the room during the chaos. Lauren saw the empty space where he had been hiding. Her eyes widened. "Ethan, he's gone. He's gone." Dominic's eyes snapped to the hallway. The lights flickered again, and somewhere beyond the darkness, a fire alarm started to wail. Is less than B is greater than and. With that screaming alarm, they realized Ethan hadn't run away. He was setting the next part of his plan in motion. Is less than. B is greater than. The fire alarm wailed through the maternity wing, its piercing cry ricocheting off the sterile walls. Red emergency strobes flashed, bathing the hallway in pulses of blood-colored light. Nurses scrambled, trying to move patients, while security rushed toward the stairwells. The smell of smoke, faint but unmistakable, crept beneath the door. Lauren's heart pounded harder than her contractions. "He's trying to burn us out," she whispered, horror curling through her stomach. "He's trying to trap us." Dominic moved to the window, peering out into the storm-soaked parking lot below. "He's panicking. A man like Ethan only does something reckless when he thinks he's already lost." "But the fire," a nurse cried. "It's not a real fire," Dominic said. "It's a diversion. All he needs is the chaos." The doctor rushed to Lauren's side, checking her monitors. "Her contractions are intensifying again. If we don't move her to a secure room, she'll go into full labor." Lauren grabbed his sleeve. Please don't let him take my baby." "We won't," he promised, though fear shadowed his eyes. Dominic stepped back to the group. "Everyone stays close. He's not trying to kill her now, he's trying to grab her." His jaw tightened. He needs her signature before the authorities connect all the forged documents. Without her, he's finished. The bus driver, Maria, she had finally introduced herself, leaned against the wall, clutching her injured arm. He went toward the service hallway, probably heading to the oxygen rooms or the electrical panel. If he messes with either, the entire wing could flood with smoke, Dominic finished darkly. Lauren winced as another contraction tore through her. The doctor barked orders. "We're moving her, now." Security formed a tight protective circle around Lauren's bed as they rolled her into the hallway. The emergency lighting flickered, casting shadows that shifted like living things. Somewhere down the hall, sprinklers sputtered to life, drenching everything in cold water. Lauren felt every bump of the bed, every jerk of the wheels. Her breath came ragged. I can't do this." "Yes, you can," Dominic said beside her, one hand steady on the frame. "You're stronger than he ever was." They passed a bend in the hall and froze. The smoke was thicker here, and in the center of the hallway, illuminated by the flashing red lights, stood Ethan. He was soaked from the sprinklers, hair plastered to his forehead, shirt clinging to his trembling frame. His eyes were wild. In one hand he held a hospital ID badge stolen, in the other, a lighter. "Don't come any closer," Ethan shouted, voice cracking. "I swear I'll drop this. I'll set the whole oxygen wing on fire." "Ethan," Dominic said calmly, stepping forward. "This ends now." "No," Ethan screamed. "You don't get to decide that. She owes me. I gave her a life. I gave her a home. She doesn't get to just walk away and take everything." Lauren's tears mixed with the water spraying down her face. "You used me. You lied to me. You tried to kill me. I had to." Ethan's voice broke, raw and desperate. "Sabrina said her people would come after me if I didn't deliver. You don't understand, this isn't about us anymore." Maria muttered under her breath. "He's completely gone." The doctor whispered to Dominic. "We can't get past him. If he drops that lighter—" "He won't," Dominic said softly. Then he took a step forward. Ethan jerked the lighter. "Don't!" Dominic didn't stop. "You want her signature?" Dominic said. "Come get it from me." Lauren gasped. "Daddy, no." Ethan trembled violently. "I don't want you. I want her." She's the missing piece. She signs, and everything goes away. All the debt, all the threats, all the... You think the people Sabrina owed money to care about your paperwork? Dominic cut him off. You're just a temporary distraction. When she fails, they'll come after you anyway. Ethan blinked. The truth cracked through him like lightning. Dominic continued, drop the lighter, walk away. It's your only chance. For a split second, Ethan's resolve faltered. But then he saw Lauren weak, crying, clutching her stomach, and something twisted inside him. She ruined everything, he screamed. He dropped the lighter. Security lunged. Lauren screamed. The lighter fell. But is less than B is greater than before it hit the floor. A high-pressure sprinkler blast knocked it mid-air, sending it skittering harmlessly across the wet tile, and Ethan's face twisted in pure animal panic as his last plan failed. Is less than. B is greater than. Ethan stared at the fallen lighter as if the tiny metal object had betrayed him personally. The sprinklers continued pouring overhead, soaking him, soaking everyone, turning the hallway into a storm. His chest heaved. His eyes twitched, frantic, darting between Dominic, Lauren, and the scattered security officers who were regaining their positions. No, this wasn't supposed to fail, Ethan whispered, voice cracking like glass under pressure. Sabrina promised me. She said they'd protect me if I delivered the signature. She said. Maria, the bus driver, stepped forward with a bitter laugh. You're still believing a woman who faked a pregnancy out of packing foam? Ethan's face twisted. Shut up. He lunged toward the fallen lighter, slipping on the wet tile. Dominic moved faster, kicking the lighter farther down the hall and out of reach. Ethan scrambled after it, drenched, slipping again, looking more like a desperate child than a man who once controlled Lauren's life with cold precision. Lauren watched him, with a nausea that went deeper than fear. It was recognition. This was the man she had trusted. The man she had carried a family for. And he was destroying everything, including himself, for a lie he helped create. Security approached cautiously, hands out, voices steady. Ethan, stop. This is over. You're surrounded. No, it's not, Ethan shrieked. Not until she signs. I need her signature. I can fix this. You can't fix anything, Dominic said, stepping forward with the calm of a man who'd already chosen mercy, but wouldn't hesitate to revoke it. You ruined your last chance an hour ago. Ethan's breathing grew erratic. If she doesn't sign, I'm dead, they told me. Sabrina said her people would. A sudden beep interrupted him. All eyes snapped to Lauren's bed. Her monitor spiked, heart rate rising, oxygen dropping. The doctor shouted for the nurses. She's going into full labor. We don't have time. Move her now. Panic tore through the hallway. As the team rushed to push Lauren's bed forward, Ethan staggered upright and screamed, No, she stays. She's mine. That baby is mine. Dominic spun on him. That child isn't yours. It never was. And after tonight, neither is she. Ethan lunged at Dominic, wild and reckless, swinging blindly. Dominic dodged easily. Ethan stumbled, overwhelmed by rage, fear, and exhaustion. You're taking everything from me. She was supposed to be the answer. I deserve that life. Dominic caught Ethan by the front of his shirt and slammed him into the wall. You don't deserve her. You don't deserve a single breath in the same room as her. Security pulled Ethan back, wrestling him to the ground, but Ethan fought like a cornered animal. Let me go. Let me go. I didn't mean to push her. She wasn't supposed to fall that hard. Lauren froze. He admitted it. She heard it. So did everyone else. Security officers stopped struggling just long enough to exchange grim looks. A nurse whispered, trembling, He did do it. Ethan realized too late what he had confessed. His eyes widened. Wait, no. I didn't say. Dominic's voice thundered. You just ended your future, Ethan. Ethan thrashed harder, screaming as the officers cuffed him. You don't understand. I did it for us, for our future. She was holding us back. Lauren couldn't breathe. Her world tilted. Her stomach tightened with a contraction sharper than any before. The doctor shouted, We need to get her to delivery. Now she's losing stability. The team rushed her bed down the hall. Lauren clutched the rails, tears streaming. Daddy, don't let him near me again, please. Dominic nodded, eyes full of something fierce and protective. He'll never touch you again. I swear it. Behind them, Ethan's voice broke into hysterical screams as he was dragged away. Lauren, Lauren, you can't do this. I made you. I made our life. Come back, come back. She didn't look back. Not once. As they rounded the corner toward the delivery wing, a sudden explosion of static crackled over the hospital intercom. A voice not Ethan's, not Sabrina's, filtered through the distortion. A man's voice. Calm. Controlled. Terrifyingly neutral. Reyes, you should have stayed gone. Dominic froze mid-step. Lauren's heart plummeted. The voice continued. This isn't about your daughter anymore. This is about you. And I'm not finished. The intercom cut. The hallway fell silent, except for Lauren's labored breathing. Dominic whispered, just loud enough for Lauren to hear. Is less than, B is greater than, the real enemy just announced himself. And he's been waiting a very long time. Is less than, B is greater than. The air in the hallway thickened after the intercom went silent, as if the very walls were holding their breath. Nurses continued pushing Lauren's bed toward the delivery wing, but every person in the group kept glancing over their shoulders. Dominic walked beside her, jaw tight, eyes darker than she had ever seen. Whoever the voice belonged to, this wasn't someone new. This was someone from his past. Lauren winced as another contraction tore through her. Daddy, who was that? Dominic hesitated, and that hesitation frightened her more than the blackout, more than Ethan's screams, more than Sabrina's attack. Someone who should have stayed buried, he muttered. Someone I hoped you'd never have to know existed. Before Lauren could ask anything else, the team reached the secured delivery suite, locked, reinforced, and equipped with its own backup generator. The supervisor scanned a keycard, but the panel blinked red. What? He exclaimed. This wing shouldn't be affected by the blackout. He tried again. Red. A nurse's voice trembled. Is someone controlling the locks? The supervisor swallowed. Someone with high-level clearance. Yes. Dominic stepped forward. Override it from the inside system. We can't, the doctor said. The internal network pinged a foreign access point. Someone's already in the system. Lauren's breathing grew shallow. Please, please, I need to lie down. I can't. The doctor nodded sharply. Move her to the trauma suite. It's the closest secure room we can manually lock. They pivoted the bed and hurried down the next hallway. Lauren's head grew foggy. Pain pulsed through her abdomen, sharper, faster, urgent. She clutched the rails. I think the baby's coming. Hold on, the doctor said. Almost there. As they turned the corner, a flicker of movement caught Dominic's eye. A shadow slipped across the far end of the hallway. Not Ethan. Not the enforcer. Someone calmer, taller, wearing a long coat, moving with quiet confidence, unhurried by alarms or chaos. Dominic froze. Lauren saw his face drain of color. Daddy? He forced himself to move. Keep going. Do not stop for anything. Maria, still limping from the earlier impact, tightened her grip on the bedside. Whoever that is, he's not here by accident. The trauma suite's door came into view. 2 security officers rushed ahead to clear the room. As they entered, Lauren felt a faint sense of safety until the hallway lights flickered again and the shadow reappeared, closer than before. The trauma suite was empty. The team rolled Lauren inside. The doctor immediately checked her vitals. We're losing time. She's dilating too quickly. Stress is accelerating labor. Lauren cried out as another contraction hit. It hurts. I can't see straight. Stay with me, the doctor urged. Breathe. We're here. Maria closed the door while security began sliding heavy equipment in front of it. Fridges, carts, anything with wheels. Dominic stood between them and the entrance. The doctor turned to him. She needs a calm environment. This stress could put the baby at risk. Dominic didn't look away from the door. I will keep her safe. A sharp metallic clang vibrated through the hallway, someone testing the trauma suite door. Lauren jolted. Maria whispered, They found us. Security positioned themselves. Weapons drawn, breath held. Another clang. Then a voice, smooth, steady, chillingly polite, spoke from the other side of the door. Dominic, it's been a long time. Lauren's heart stilled. Dominic's expression darkened into something ancient, something dangerous. You shouldn't have come here. The voice responded with a quiet amusement. I had to. The girl carries your blood, and blood always leads back to its source. Lauren felt her stomach twist. not just from labor but from dread. Who is he? Dominic didn't turn. A man who thinks hurting you will hurt me. A soft chuckle. Not hurt, Dominic, just collect what's owed. Security braced themselves as the door handle turned slowly, insistently. Then, the emergency lights surged brighter, flickering before settling into a steady glow. And for the first time, Lauren saw the shadow under the door, 2 shoes, polished, unmoving, waiting. The handle clicked again. Then a single sentence slipped through the crack, colder than anything Sabrina or Ethan had ever said. Tell your daughter to breathe. She won't have long before she meets me. Lauren's blood ran cold. Dominic stepped forward, fists clenched. Is less than B, is greater than and. Just as he reached for the door, a second voice, a woman's, shouted down the hallway, making everyone inside the room freeze in shock. Is less than B, is greater than. The woman's voice cut through the hallway like a blade, sharp, furious, echoing with a strength that didn't belong in the middle of fear. Don't you touch that door, she screamed. The shadow under the trauma suite door hesitated. The polished shoes shifted slightly. And then silence. Inside the room, everyone froze. Lauren clutched her stomach, panting through another contraction. Who is that? Maria pressed her ear to the door. Not staff, not security. Her voice, she's not scared. Whoever she is, she's not scared. Dominic's expression sharpened in recognition, then confusion, then disbelief. It can't be, he whispered. A second shadow appeared under the door heels this time, clicking sharply against the floor. Then the woman's voice spoke again, loud enough for everyone to hear. Step away from Reyes's daughter. Now. A low, humorless chuckle seeped through from the man outside. And who are you to give me orders? I'm the one who taught you how to follow them, she snapped. The room fell silent. Dominic blinked, stunned. No. She died. She died years ago. Lauren's heart lurched. Daddy, who is she? Before he could answer, the door shook as the man outside stepped closer. His voice darkened. You shouldn't be here. The woman didn't back down. Neither should you. But here we are, and I'm telling you for the last time, walk away. Metal scraped, something heavy sliding. The man gripped the door handle. His tone turned icy. Move aside. She's my leverage now. A scuffle erupted outside, sharp, violent, bodies hitting walls, a grunt, a gasp, something metallic dropping on the ground. Maria stepped back, eyes wide. Holy Lord, she's fighting him. Lauren clutched Dominic's sleeve. Daddy, who is she? You know her. Dominic swallowed hard, his voice hoarse with something like awe. Elena Navarro. The name meant nothing to Lauren, but its weight filled the room. Maria frowned. Should we know who that is? Dominic looked at the door as if staring at a ghost. She was the deadliest strategist in my organization 30 years ago. Smarter than anyone I knew. Faster. She saved my life, more times than I can count. His jaw tightened. And she vanished after your mother died. Everyone thought she was killed. A loud crack echoed from outside, someone being slammed into a wall. Then a woman's voice hissed. I told you to walk away. Silence. The trauma suite door handle turned again, this time gently. Security raised their weapons. Dominic raised a hand. Stand down. The door pushed open, just an inch. A face appeared in the gap. A woman mid-50 seconds, dark hair streaked with silver, eyes sharp enough to cut steel. A thin scar crossed her jawline, nearly invisible until the emergency lights flickered across it. She wasn't bleeding. She wasn't shaken. She looked exactly like someone who had survived everything. Elena, Dominic breathed. She pushed the door open fully and stepped inside with calm, controlled movements. Behind her, the man who had threatened them lay unconscious in the hallway, zip-tied with hospital tubing. Lauren gaped. You saved us? Elena's gaze softened slightly as she looked at Lauren, just enough warmth to prove she was human beneath the steel. Your father saved me first. Now I return the favor. Dominic exhaled shakily, stepping toward her. I thought you were gone. After everything, I thought. Elena cut him off. No time for reunions. She pointed at Lauren. Your daughter is in active labor. And the man who hired that enforcer? He's already on his way up the west stairwell. He won't stop just because one of his men failed. Lauren whimpered, gripping the rails. I can't run. I can't move. My baby's coming. Elena stepped to her bedside instantly. Then we don't run, we hold. Security scrambled to barricade the door again. Elena pulled a pocket knife small, efficient from her boot, and sliced open the fake pregnancy bump Sabrina had worn earlier. Something inside the foam padding clattered softly onto the floor. A flash drive. Dominic's eyes widened. They hid something in her suit. Elena nodded. Something worth killing for. Lauren gasped in pain as another contraction overwhelmed her. The doctor barked. We need to deliver this baby now. Elena moved beside Dominic, voice low. You take the child when she delivers. I'll handle whatever comes through that door. Dominic looked at her not as an old ally, but as someone he'd buried in memory. You came back. She gave a faint, grim smile. For her. As another crash sounded down the hallway closer, this time Lauren felt terror claw up her throat. Is less than B is greater than, because whoever had hired the enforcer was now just seconds away from reaching the room themselves. Is less than, B is greater than. The crashing noises outside the trauma suite grew louder, closer, more precise. Whoever was coming wasn't stumbling like Ethan or thrashing like Sabrina. No, these footsteps were controlled, methodical, trained. Each impact against the floor sent a tremor through Lauren's chest, mixing with the surging contractions until she couldn't tell where fear ended and labor began. The doctor leaned over her. Lauren, listen to me. Your body is progressing too quickly. The baby is coming, whether we're ready or not. I can't, she gasped, gripping the rails as another contraction ripped through her. It's too soon. You're not alone, Dominic said, steadying her shoulder. We'll protect you, all of us. But Lauren wasn't looking at him. She was staring at Elena. Elena Navarro, who stood by the door like a blade unsheathed, eyes sharp, breath slow, hands steady. Her presence filled the room with a strange kind of calm, like she had already calculated every danger, every angle, every possible outcome. Elena, Dominic said quietly, tell me straight, who's coming? Elena didn't look back at him. A ghost from your past, a man named Decker Holt. Dominic's face hardened. I should have known. Lauren fought through the pain. Who is he? A former intelligence contractor, Elena answered. Black ops, no fingerprints, no official records. He went rogue years ago and built a shadow network of debt collectors and mercenaries. Sabrina owed him millions. Elena's jaw tightened. And Ethan sold your name to him. Lauren felt nausea twist inside her. He wants... me? He wants the access tied to your identity, Elena said. You are the legal hinge to a portfolio he's been building with forged documents. You disappear, and he gains full control. She lifted her chin toward Dominic. And destroying you punishes your father. 2 wins for him. The door reverberated with a heavy blow. Security braced themselves. Maria whispered a prayer. Lauren sobbed through another contraction. I can't do this. Yes, you can, Dominic said, grabbing her hand. You survived Ethan. You survived Sabrina. You survived being thrown into the street with 2 children inside you. You are the strongest person in this room. Her tears fell harder not from fear, but from a fragile hope she hadn't felt in years. Don't let them take my baby. They won't, Dominic vowed. Another impact slammed into the door, bending the hinge. The metal screeched. Elena moved to the front, pulling a second blade from her boot. Everyone stand clear. The doctor shouted, We can't keep waiting. Lauren, I need you to push. A fresh wave of pain surged through her body. Lauren screamed, clutching the sides of the bed. Not now, please. Not while they're here. Elena glanced over her shoulder. Then we end this before the baby arrives. A calm, chilling voice drifted through the crack in the door. Dominic, open up. I'm tired of waiting. Lauren froze. That voice, smooth, controlled, almost polite, made the air feel colder. Dominic stepped forward, fists clenched. Holt, you lay a hand on her, and I promise you, your organization will crumble tonight. A low chuckle answered him. You think I came alone? The door slammed again. This time, it dented inward. Security shouted, Brace, brace. The doctor yelled, Lauren, you have to push now. We're out of time. Lauren cried out, gripping Maria's hand so tightly the woman winced. I'm scared. I'm so scared. Maria leaned down, forehead almost touching hers. Then be scared, and do it anyway. That's what courage looks like. The door bent, further screws snapping, metal tearing. Elena steadied herself, blades raised. Dominic positioned himself near the bed, ready to shield Lauren with his own body. Lauren pushed, screaming, trembling, her world collapsing into pain and fear and the terror of losing everything she had fought to protect. Outside, Decker Holt murmured, "Time's up." The hinge groaned. The door split. And, is less than B, is greater than the moment, the baby's first cry filled the room. The door finally gave way, and Decker Holt stepped inside with a gun raised, his eyes locking directly on the newborn child. Is less than, B is greater than. The moment Decker Holt stepped inside, the world seemed to stop. The gun in his hand glinted under the flickering emergency lights, his expression calm, almost serene, like he was walking into a meeting, not a delivery room soaked in sweat, blood, and terror. His eyes moved past Dominic, past Elena, past the scrambling security officers, and locked onto the newborn child in the doctor's trembling hands. Lauren let out a broken scream. "No, don't touch my baby, please." Her voice sliced through the room, raw and primal. Instinct burned through her exhaustion. She tried to push herself upright, but pain folded her back into the bed. Tears streamed down her face as she reached desperately toward her child. Decker didn't flinch. "Relax, Miss Hayes. The child isn't in danger, not if everyone cooperates." Dominic stepped forward, fury simmering under a tight, controlled voice. "Holt, put the gun down." Decker smiled faintly, a polite, empty smile. "Always giving orders, Reyes. Even after disappearing for decades. Tell me, how much is your daughter worth to you?" Elena moved into position beside Dominic, her blades drawn, her stance low and lethal. "Put the weapon down, Decker. This ends tonight." Decker's gaze flicked to her, and something like amusement sparkled in his eyes. "Elena Navarro, the ghost no one could bury." He tilted his head. "I wondered which side you'd choose." "The side that makes sure you never breathe near this family again," Elena replied. Security officers slowly raised their weapons behind her, but Decker lifted a single finger. "Shoot me, and the baby dies first." The doctor froze, clutching the infant protectively. "Please, I'm just trying to help her." Decker cut him off. "Give the child to the mother." The doctor hesitated, then carefully placed the crying newborn into Lauren's shaking arms. She curled over the tiny body, shielding it with every ounce of strength she had left. "You're not taking her," she whispered, voice trembling but fierce. "You're not touching my baby." Decker didn't even look at her. His eyes stayed on Dominic. "You know what I want." Dominic stepped closer. "This isn't about my daughter. This is about revenge." "Revenge?" Decker repeated, raising a brow. "Don't flatter yourself. This is business. She holds the key to a fortune Sabrina tried to build through your name. I'm simply collecting what she owed." Elena scoffed. "You'll never leave this room alive, Holt. Walk away while you still can." Decker's jaw tightened. For a fraction of a second, his mask slipped, revealing the cold, bruised ego beneath. "I didn't come here to walk away." He shifted the gun toward Lauren. Dominic reacted instantly. "No," Lauren screamed. Dominic lunged, placing himself directly between Decker and the bed. Elena mirrored his movement, each step precise, calculated. Security advanced, inch by inch. Decker exhaled, annoyed. "You're making this difficult." He cocked the gun. The sound froze Lauren's breath. But before he could fire, a loud crash erupted behind him, the window of the trauma suite shattering inward as a grappling hook slammed into the metal frame. Glass exploded across the room. Smoke surged. Lights cut again. A figure dropped from the ventilation duct above, slamming into Decker with brutal force. The gun fired once into the ceiling. Security dove. Elena charged. Dominic grabbed Lauren's bed, shielding her and the baby with his body. The figure tackled Decker into the wall so hard the drywall cracked. His weapon clattered across the floor. The intruder moved with practiced efficiency, knee to the ribs, elbow to the jaw, forearm to the throat. Decker gurgled beneath the assault. Lauren gasped as the smoke cleared just enough to reveal the newcomer. A woman, military gear, tactical harness, hair tied back tight, her face partially hidden by a helmet visor. Elena blinked. "You?" The woman lifted the visor. A sharp, controlled voice finally broke through. "Reyes. Navarro, get the child out, I'll handle him." Dominic's eyes widened. "Isabella?" Lauren's lungs seized. "Isabella Reyes." Dominic's long-lost sister. The aunt she never knew she had. Decker growled, staggering to his feet. You people never stay dead. Isabella cracked her knuckles. Funny. I was about to say the same to you. She lunged. Is less than B is greater than and, as she struck. Lauren realized the final battle had just begun, and her family was far more powerful and far more dangerous than she ever imagined. Is less than B is greater than B is greater. The trauma suite crackled with chaos as Isabella and Decker collided again, their movements brutal and efficient, two predators in a confined cage. Each strike echoed off the tile walls. Each grunt carried years of history Lauren didn't understand. She curled around her newborn, rocking gently, tears slipping down her cheeks as she whispered, You're safe. Mommy's here. Stay with me. The doctor hovered protectively at her side. We need to move her to postpartum, but I can't risk taking her through that hallway. No one leaves until Holt is neutralized, Elena said sharply, never taking her eyes off the fight. Dominic stood beside Lauren, fists clenched, jaw tight. His voice trembled with something she'd never heard from him before, fear. Isabella, stay sharp, this man doesn't go down easy. Neither do I, Isabella shot back, dodging a vicious swing. Decker lunged, grabbing her by the throat and slamming her into the wall. The room shook. Lauren cried out, clutching her baby tighter. Isabella's boots scraped against the tile as she struggled for leverage. Decker's grip tightened. I warned them what would happen if they crossed me, he hissed. Rhea's bloodline ends tonight. Dominic moved to intervene, but Elena held out an arm. Not yet, she's not finished. And she wasn't. With a sudden twist, Isabella drove her knee into Decker's ribs. The crack was audible. He staggered. She elbowed him once, twice, then grabbed the grappling hook rope still dangling from the broken window, wrapping it around Decker's neck. He thrashed violently, smashing into the counters, dragging her across the glass-strewn floor. Let go, he roared, slamming her into the cabinets. But Isabella held tight, tightening the rope until his movements slowed. His face reddened, his jaw clenched. He clawed at the rope. Dominic exhaled. Isabella, don't kill him. He needs to face trial. She didn't let go. After what he's done? After what he planned to do to your daughter? Lauren watched through tears, her heart racing. She wasn't sure she wanted mercy. Not after everything he'd caused. Not after the fear, the danger, the near loss of her child. Decker dropped to one knee. Then two. Then he bucked forward violently, throwing himself and Isabella backward into a metal table. The rope slipped. Isabella gasped as he broke free, stumbling toward the door. Security reached for him, but he pulled a hidden knife from his boot and slashed wildly, forcing them back. Blood dripped from his temple. His breath rattled. Yet his eyes stayed locked on Lauren. The child, he rasped. I came for the child. Lauren felt her body go cold. She shielded the baby tighter, whispering, Don't look at her. Don't you dare look at her. Decker lifted the knife. Dominic stepped in front of the bed. Elena flanked him. Isabella pushed off the wall, staggering but determined. But Decker didn't charge. He smiled. A cold, empty smile. You think this ends with me? He growled. You think she's safe just because you won the room? Lauren's throat tightened. What does that mean? She whispered. Decker took a breath that shuddered through his entire body. Sabrina wasn't the mastermind. I wasn't even the highest bidder. There are others who want the access your identity unlocks. Others who... He suddenly choked. His eyes widened. He dropped the knife. Everyone froze. Decker swayed once, then fell forward onto the tile. A thin metal dart protruded from the base of his neck. Isabella's breath caught. No, that wasn't one of ours. Dominic looked toward the shattered window. A faint red laser dot blinked across the floor, then vanished. A sniper. Lauren gasped. Someone shot him? Who? Elena crouched beside Decker's body, checking for a pulse. Her voice was low and grim. Someone who didn't want him talking. Isabella cursed under her breath. We're not dealing with one enemy. We're dealing with a network. Lauren felt the world tilt. Will they come for us? Dominic leaned down, placing a hand gently on her shoulder. No, because now that we know they exist, we can end them. Before Lauren could respond, her newborn let out a soft cry, curling tiny fingers around her gown. Dominic's face softened. But first, let's get you both out alive. As security cleared the room, Isabella moved to secure the hall. Elena retrieved the flash drive hidden inside Sabrina's fake pregnancy bump. Dominic looked at the blood on the floor, the broken door, the shattered window, then at Lauren. His voice thickened. You survived the ones who wanted you gone. Now it's time you see what life looks like when you're finally protected. Lauren exhaled shakily, holding her child close. Is less than B is greater than BUT. Just as they prepared to leave the room, an emergency page echoed through the intercom calling Dominic by name. And this time, it wasn't a threat, it was a summons. Is less than B is greater than. The emergency page crackled through the intercom, echoing over the chaos still settling in the trauma suite. Dominic Reyes to executive security immediately. Urgent. The message repeated twice, then fell silent. Dominic stiffened. No threats. No distortions. No disguised voices. This was a real hospital code coming from someone who had override access during a crisis. Elena narrowed her eyes. Only the hospital's highest-level administrators could send that page. Isabella stepped beside her. Unless someone else hacked it again. Dominic shook his head slowly. No, this was clean. Whoever called me wants to end this without blood. Lauren swallowed, rocking her newborn gently. Daddy, don't leave. Please don't go alone. He leaned down, brushing a trembling hand across her forehead. I won't go far, but someone's calling me who knows we survived. That means they're choosing negotiation over another attack. Elena sheathed her knife. We go with him. Isabella nodded. All of us. The doctor spoke gently. As soon as it's safe to move her, I want mother and child transferred to the secured recovery wing. Maria, still holding her battered arm, smiled at Lauren. You made it, honey. I told you I wasn't letting anything happen to you. Lauren squeezed her hand, fighting tears. Thank you. For everything. Security finally confirmed the hallway safe. Dominic, Elena, and Isabella stepped out first, sweeping corners, checking blind spots. The overhead lights flickered back to full power, the air heavy with smoke and disinfectant. Decker's body had already been removed. The bloody dart was gone. No sniper, no traces. Whoever cleaned it up did it fast. They followed a guard toward the executive office. When they arrived, a woman in a charcoal suit stood waiting, short hair, stern face, posture straight as a ruler. Her badge read, Chief Administrator Helen Mercer. She looked at Dominic without fear. You brought a war into my hospital tonight, Mr. Reyes. Dominic didn't deny it. Someone else brought it. I ended it. Helen's gaze moved to Elena, then Isabella. Your associates neutralized a threat my staff couldn't. For that, you have my gratitude. She exhaled tightly. But you also need to hear this. She tapped the screen on her desk. A video appeared. Sabrina, frantic, bruised, half delirious, being dragged through a detention corridor. Helen pressed play. Sabrina screamed into the camera. It wasn't me. You think I'm the head? You think I'm the one they're afraid of? You haven't met the man she really belongs to. The feed cut out. Helen folded her hands. Before she was taken into custody, Sabrina attempted to send a message to a known crime broker. It bounced back because he's already dead. Decker Holt killed him 2 days ago. She paused. Which means Decker was the last of them. Isabella frowned. The sniper? Helen nodded. A cleanup agent. Paid to erase Holt the moment he failed. There will be no further pursuit. Their network is fractured beyond repair. Dominic let out a slow, shaking breath, relief, washing through lines on his face. Lauren had never noticed until now. Elena crossed her arms. So, it's over. Helen nodded. Yes, and your family is safe. When Dominic returned to Lauren's room, she looked up at him with exhaustion heavy in her eyes. Is it really done? He nodded, kneeling beside her bed. The last threat is gone. You're free, Lauren. Truly free. She finally sobbed, not from fear, but from release. Years of pain collapsing into a single moment of peace. Dominic gathered her into a gentle embrace, careful of the baby. You will never be alone again, he whispered. 2 weeks later, Lauren stood in a quiet room, flooded with soft sunrise light at her new home in New Jersey, one Dominic secured under her name alone. Maria visited often. Elena and Isabella checked security daily. Ethan was awaiting trial under multiple charges. Sabrina had accepted a plea deal with no chance of seeing daylight for years. And Lauren? She held her newborn daughter, swaying gently near the window. A soft knock came at the door. The pediatrician who'd helped deliver her baby stood there, Dr. Caleb Morgan, smiling warmly. "Just checking on my favorite patient, both of them." Lauren blushed, something fluttering in her chest she hadn't felt in a long time. "You came all the way here?" "I'll keep coming," Caleb said softly. "As long as you'll let me." Dominic watched from the hallway, a faint, knowing smile on his face. Lauren looked at her daughter, then at Caleb. For the first time in her life, the future didn't feel like something she had to fear. It felt like something she could choose. She whispered, "Maybe it's time I start over." Caleb reached for her hand, and she didn't pull away. Is less than B, is greater than after everything they took from her life. Finally gave Lauren Hayes something back. Safety, family, and a chance at love she had truly earned. Is less than, B is greater than. So, our story has finally come to an end. And my dear friends, if you're still here at this moment, it means something inside this journey touched your heart in a way you probably didn't expect. Maybe it reminded you that even in the darkest moments of life, we are never truly alone. Maybe it showed you that courage doesn't always roar, sometimes it whispers, "Keep going." Just like Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Lauren's story teaches us that healing is not about forgetting the pain, but about choosing what comes next. It teaches us that family is sometimes the one we create, not the one we were given. And most of all, it shows that love, real love, arrives when we finally believe we deserve better. If this journey made you feel something, even a small spark, then don't leave quietly. Like this video, share it with someone who needs courage today, and subscribe so we can walk together through more stories that heal, inspire, and remind us what we're capable of. You matter. You're stronger than you think, and I'm grateful you're here with us tonight.